Welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. Inside the camper is my wife, Marissa. We've been traveling in our 2005 Lance truck camper for the last almost 3 years. And today we're gonna be taking you through one of the big questions that we've had many times, both here on YouTube and on our Instagram page, is our dirt bike carrier. People are always curious about how we set this dirt bike up on our flatbed setup here, extended back from the camper. So today we're gonna get into that. So for those who aren't aware, we used to have a 2015 Ram 3500. We now have a 2018 Ram 5500. On our 3500, I had a snowplow mount on the front of the truck. The idea was, let's use the snowplow mount in order to put a dirt bike carrier on the front. The dirt bike carrier on the front I thought was going to be a great idea because really the big concern was the ability to enter and exit the camper at the rear. And by having the dirt bike on the front, it didn't infringe upon that. I also thought that it would be more advantageous to be adding length onto the front of our rig overall rather than adding length on the back of the rig. That didn't end up working out nearly as well as I thought. What's better about having the dirt bike on the back of the truck is the fact that you can park in a parking space and then overhang all of that extra length from not only the camper but also the dirt bike, typically over the grass. Whereas with having the dirt bike on the front, I was always stuck with hanging out into the parking lot more than I wanted to. But the big flaw related to mounting the dirt bike on the front of our rig was that it drastically caused our engine to run warmer by a 10-degree difference. And it put us at climbing hills at 205 degrees to climbing hills at 215 degrees, and then temperatures escalating from there. Now, I know many people who have not had that problem, but I was also very fairly forewarned by friends of mine who have dirt bikes on truck campers, similar setups, and they were like, it's gonna not work out well. So from my experience, having your dirt bike on the front of the truck is not the way to go. But with that said, my unique experience is not necessarily the same as everyone. Certainly take that with a grain of salt and figure out what works best for your rig. After finally getting smarter and wiser from the failures of having our dirt bike on the front of the truck, I started to listen to my friends who had already warned me about the flaws of having a dirt bike on the front, and I started to figure out how can I mimic the system that these other friends have on their existing truck campers that are a tried and true setup that they know works well and should also work well for my camper. The primary thing that makes this dirt bike carrier unique from one that you would just buy at Harbor Freight is the fact that it utilizes 3 different connection points to the hitch receiver of the flatbed. What we've done here is we still utilize the traditional receiver that would be now in the center, and we've added 2 additional 2-inch receivers to the outermost points of the flatbed's hitch assembly. And so those 2 added receivers, what they're gonna do is create an immense amount of stability for the dirt bike so that things aren't twisting as they're going down the road. And more importantly, when you're off-road, they're not twisting. Once those 2 outer receivers were welded onto the hitch assembly of the flatbed, then we were able to take 2-inch pieces of steel tubing and slide it into the receivers and figure out just how long we needed to make the dirt bike carrier in order for it to allow us to open the door, functionally get in and out, but also not so long that we added any more length to our overall size. And additionally, the more length you add to this receiver and to this dirt bike carrier, the more leverage that is gonna be put on your receivers here on the truck side of things. So as you can see, because of the existing leverage that we already have from it being the length that it is, which is probably about 5.5 feet, I'll take a tape measure to it. So it's 67 inches to the very back of the dirt bike carrier, but to where the load of the dirt bike is at is 55 inches. So you've got 55 inches of travel, if you will, before that dirt bike is really being supported. So what we did to compete with all that leverage was we added our old torque lift turnbuckles. By doing that, we've now cut down where that leverage point is, so that we're not having nearly as much flex going on back here. And we also don't have to worry about cracking any welds on the receivers, because that happened on the old truck. So the way that I attached these turnbuckles to the tubing was to use hitch silencers. So I also have hitch silencers on every one of the 2-inch receivers, so that also takes out a bunch of the play and helps to deal with that leverage and force. And so attaching the turnbuckles on the high side back to the truck, on my previous truck, on the 3500, I put in some D-rings that were just bolt in from Harbor Freight. The previous owner of this truck, he had basically D-rings but welded on, so drastically more strong than what I had, and have worked out great. They were in the exact right locations that I needed them to be in order to attach these turnbuckles. So it's just kind of crazy irony how well set up this truck was for our application when buying it. This is the ramp for the dirt bike that allows it to go on and off of the rack area. So from there, once we had those 2-inch pieces of steel tubing in place, we were able to lay out where we wanted the rack itself to be. Now this rack is just from Amazon. It's aluminum, so it's lightweight. I think it's like 32 pounds. And that, because it's aluminum and not steel, we weren't able to weld those two metals together. So what I did was just run some through bolts down from the aluminum dirt bike carrier into the steel tubing. After mounting the dirt bike rack to the steel tubing, next step that I did was adding in brake lights. So because of the dirt bike being on the back of the camper, it, without question, blocks the brake lights, turn signals, and would possibly cause somebody to get into an accident with us and possibly be my fault. Another Amazon special, these brake lights here, I think they're about 15 inches long. They do turn signals, brake lights, running lights, just like a trailer. To supply the power and everything that those turn signals need, all I did was run a set of trailer wires up along the 2-inch tubing, and then bought a splitter from Amazon for a 7-way plug. And that way it just hops out into a Y and allows me to plug in the truck camper for its signals and lighting, and then also the dirt bike rack for its turn signals, brake lights, running lights, reverse lights when I don't have a pop fuse. So in order to have an attachment point on the back of the dirt bike carrier for the predominant dirt bike straps, I had a shop add another level worth of 2-inch receiver, basically, size material, 2-inch inside diameter tubing on top of the existing 2-inch tubing, so that I could run this guy inside and have an attachment point. The other fringe benefit of that was that it allowed us to relocate our adventure hammock system to the back of the truck, where we will use it and have used it way more than when we had it on the front of the truck. Another thing that I did was I added some backup lights so that we could have better visibility when I'm backing up with this big thing. They do work super well, but they also popped a fuse that I haven't replaced, so got to deal with that at some point. So how do we attach the dirt bike to the dirt bike rack? Well, conventionally most folks just have the 2 straps that go from the handlebars down to the rack itself, but traveling full time and not checking in on this thing every single day like you would if you were just leaving your house with your dirt bike and going out for a ride for the day, you'd make sure your straps are good, then you'd be done with it for the day. But for us, every day with this thing back here is a moving day, a travel day of some semblance. So I have additional straps on here which make it more of a pain to remove the dirt bike, but also makes it drastically safer for myself, everybody else on the road, so that this dirt bike isn't behind us too far. So I've got one strap here in the back that goes over the rear swing arm, and it just super basic strap from Home Depot, nothing special. Underneath here, I've got 2 ratchet straps, which ratchet straps are a no-no for the handlebar setup, but for additional strapping, in my opinion, they're fine. These just add a little bit more stability, a little bit more tightness, so that if one other strap were to come loose, these would help hopefully soften the blow until I figure it out. The strap for the left-hand side of the dirt bike, that one is connected to an eyelet that is welded onto the 2-inch tubing down here. That thing is a bit of interference for us, but when the dirt bike cover is on, it covers that strap as well, so it's not really a tripping hazard the way it looks like it is now. And then lastly on the front, same as the rear, but we go over the tire instead of over the rear swing arm. One item that has been a pain in the butt is a fork saver. The fork savers that I've had in the past have all fallen out. I had an orange one from KTM, broke, fell out. Used the 2x4 for a while. That actually lasted the longest. Shout out to Jay for making that for me, buddy. But then I replaced the 2x4 with this one from Amazon that has some nice straps on it to keep it in place. That way your fork saver doesn't fall out and end up getting run over by another car. Another item that I added to the dirt bike rack is a backup camera. Now I've got a backup camera up there above the awning. I added this one here because it's nice to be able to know just how far away I am from a wall. The one up top doesn't do the greatest job of giving you depth perception. It does a great job of allowing me to know that the dirt bike is still there. I utilize this one here just to make sure that I don't back up too far. I had mentioned earlier how one of our focal points of trying to have the dirt bike on the front was to not interfere with our ability to get in and out on the back. When the front hitch failed and we conceded to the fact that we would have to put it on the back of the truck, I told Marissa that I would build her a back deck. So you've got a couple pieces of Trex from Home Depot that I cut down into 4 lengths. That way we have a nice back deck to walk in and out on, and that's actually worked out great. Not having to break out the stairs every time we want to get in and out of the camper. So now when you want to get into the camper, all you do is just step right up. Oh, if you guys have been following us and watch all our videos, you can see I've actually mounted our license plate for the dirt bike in a nice, proper manner that won't get us pulled over immediately. Because we have this back deck and we no longer needed the stairs, we've actually had them sent home to New Jersey. When Marissa was just there recently, she put it in her luggage and checked her bag, and the stairs went with her back to New Jersey because FedEx wanted $210 to ship it from Salt Lake to New Jersey, and it was, I think, $40 for a check bag. The one piece of this puzzle that drastically does need improvement is the ramp. So the ramp down there is heavy because it's steel, in a tough location because of the torque lift turnbuckles that I have supporting the dirt bike carrier. It's the part of the puzzle that demotivates me from taking the dirt bike off of the rack the most. So if you guys have any ideas on how I can improve that ramp, put them in the comments below, because I would love all the ideas that I can get. I hope this was informative and helps you learn a little bit more about how you can haul your dirt bike or motorcycle around on a big ass truck camper. If you want to learn more about our camper, or you have other specific questions, drop them in the comments below. I would love to have some video ideas from you guys on what you want to see that pertains to our truck camper. Thanks so much for checking out our video. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, turn on notifications. We'll see you next week. Bye.